Good morning. This is May the 23rd, Sunday, 2025. And this is the third class of BBIS second semester compulsory English subject. The tip is broken, so I don't know if it works. Somebody probably dropped it. Okay. So in the first class, we read the curriculum and came to know about the chapters, topics, themes, contact hours, etc. In the second class, we talked about the themes included in the curriculum, like storytelling for business, innovation, etc. Critical and creative thinking. There are 5 themes for 5 minutes. And we also saw there is something called academic writing, right? And then I had asked you, I'd given you a page, I guess. If you have brought the page back, I'd like to collect it. Can I get the page, first page? You please collect all and give it back to me. Collect it. So I had given you the pages of this story, Dawn, from the novel Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. And I had asked you to answer questions which I had handwritten at the back of each page, right? I don't know if you could do, hope you will do it soon. Raise your hand if you had time to read this story. There are about 40 pages in this story. I read the story last night between 2 to 5. I woke up at 2 and read up to 5:30. It took me 3.5 hours. And I also made notes. I not only read, I summarized every single paragraph in one sentence at the margin. I'll show you in a while. Then I went to Google, and I also just used Google Gemini and asked her what are the elements of a memoir. And this is what I found in Google Gemini. I would like to share with you. It's useful. One might object using Google, but I'll say there's nothing wrong in using Google if it helps us learn. So I'll begin with this note from Google Gemini, and I will connect it with this story. So whenever you read a text in our course, before I move ahead, what I expect you is that you do not sit like this as the two are sitting. When you sit arms akimbo doing this body language says, I'm defending what you're saying. So I won't accept what you're saying. Whenever you go for interview or any conference or any public meetings, if you sit like this, the other party will think that you are not ready to accept the ideas. So do not sit arms akimbo. Keep your copies open, English note copies, not ordinary rough copies, a copy that is dedicated for English subject only. And you don't write anything from other subjects, right? Second expectation. I expect you to have a copy which is for English class. Then I expect you that you put today's date very carefully. You put date, day, year on top of the copy for a clear record. Then, as I explain you things, I expect you to make continuous note during class. For example, I'm displaying you elements of a memoir. Now I expect you to write their elements of a memoir in a note copy. Because I will close this screen, I'll leave the class, and you won't have anything. That is called making lecture notes. When the teacher finishes teaching, you have an outline of his class to consult, right? Then you write Dawn, the story by Phil Knight. You write the chapter heading. And as I explain, you listen to me very carefully, and you decide from what Divakar sir is saying, what should I note down and what should I ignore? You decide. Because you have already studied 12 years in school. So now we expect you to have this filter. Filter. What is filter? That critical thinking ability, which helps you decide, oh, this thing sir is saying is not so useful, so I will not note down. Oh, that thing sir is saying is useful, I'll note down. So you should be able to decide what is significant your teacher is saying and what is not significant your teacher is saying. And then you should carefully note down what seems to be important to you, right? Okay. So a memoir, as Google Gemini says, delves into specific periods. If I write a memoir, I will talk about certain time in my life. For example, I can talk about my grade 11 and 12 time in India. And I can talk about how I fell in love with more than 3-4 girls during my college days. That will be a memoir. A specific period. Now I ask you, if I've gone through this story, can someone tell me what is the time frame which is described in this memoir? Does Phil Knight talk about 21st century time? Does he talk about 1940s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s? What is the time that he talks about? The title of the second chapter, there are 2 chapters in this story, in your selection, there are 2 chapters. First is titled as Dawn, and the second is titled as 1962. Right? Why 1962 is important? At one point he says, on a momentous morning in 1962, he says. I can quote lines because I've read the story. On a momentous morning, he says. What is momentous morning? A very important morning that brings a change in life. He says, I returned home at Portland, Oregon after 7 years. And he begins the story. His habit is, he is a runner. What's his hobby? His hobby is, no idea. You have to read this story to answer my questions. His hobby is running. His hobby is running. So early morning, before anybody wakes up, he wakes up and puts on the shoes, comes out of home in the street for running. Right? So 1962. When was he born? When was he born? At one point he mentions. He says that in 1962, I was how many years old? Now look, now I'm losing my patience and I'm getting angry because I'm putting questions, you're not answering my questions, right? Because I haven't read the story. He was 24. How old? He was 24. In 1962, he was 24. So when was he born? 62 minus 24. 1938. What happened in the world in 1938? What important political thing happened in this world in 1938? Second World War started. You have no social awareness, you have no knowledge about world history, just mobile, browsing mobile and watching shorts. Read world history. Know about the global events. Second World War started. 38 or 39? I guess 39. 39. When did America attack Pearl Harbor? Or Japan? Yes, America. When? Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, right? And then America got into the war. 1945? Not exactly. And then America dropped 2 bombs. What was the name of the bombs? Fat Boy and something else. So, this was the time of Second World War. Right? Okay, 1962, 7 years away from home. That means he left home in 1955. Right? The war was over. And have you heard the word Cold War? When the Second World War came to an end, America and USSR, they were ready for war. They were not exactly fighting, but they were ready for war. That period between 1950s to 80s or 60s, 70s is known as Cold War period, right? So we were saying that it covers a specific period, 1962, when he came home after 7 years. So when he came home, what was his situation? What was his degree? What was his academic qualification when he came home? What degree had he obtained? You have to read, child, not only to you, I'm asking everybody here. You have to read this story to answer my questions. Else, how can you answer my questions? What was his degree? What degree had he acquired? He was an MBA. He was an MBA at 24. From which university? Now I'm losing my patience, If you answer, class will be interactive. Teacher puts questions, you answer, you put questions, I answer. From Stanford University. From where? Stanford University. And, okay, specific period. So he talks about 1962. He talks about one morning. Right? Then themes. A memoir deals with a specific theme. Can somebody guess what is the theme, dominant idea in this story? Don't put it here because, my focus goes on this helmet rather than on you. A royal helmet, right? The king's helmet. What is the theme, dominant theme in this story? What does he talk about? Does he talk about his marriage? Does he talk about his marriage? No idea. Does he talk about his sickness? What does he talk about? He talks about his business success. He talks about his business success. He is telling us the story of success in his business. That's why they have put this in your course. BBIS, Bachelor in Business and Information System. Is that the full form? Business and Information System. You should have enough information about this story. Okay. In his business. So I was saying the theme, one theme, dominant theme, major theme of this story is success in business. How to achieve success in business. This story answers this question. How to achieve success in life, let's say. Okay. Then the story also focuses on the exploration of particular experiences. What experiences does he explore in the story? He explores the experience of growing as a teenager. In 1962, he was 24. He had been away for 7 years to study. That means 24 minus 7 means he was 17 when he left home. A teenager. 17, that means he had passed high school, I guess. So he explores the teenage experience. He explores his school and college experience. For example, in the very beginning, first page, he talks about his best teacher. Let me show the line. Look what he says about his best teacher. The best teacher I ever had, one of the finest men I ever knew, spoke of that trail often. It's our birthright, he would growl. Our character, our fate, our DNA. The cowards never started, he would tell me, and the weak died along the way that leaves us. Before that, let me show the first paragraphs, how the novel opens. I was up before the others. This can be read as an allegory. What is an allegory? Allegory is a story in which things in the story represent other ideas outside the story. And you can apply them in life. For example, when the story says, I was up before the others, I understand if I want to succeed in business, I must start business before others. Start as early as possible. When I was a school teacher in class 6 or 7, I forgot, I had a student at Jamal in high school, government school. And early morning at 6, I would see that student from my class at Ratna Park with a cartoon. What would he have? He will have pair of socks there. And he will cry, Bisko duita, bisko duita, bisko duita, 30 years before. And he would sell socks. Today, at New Road Ranjana, he has a big clothes shop. And he is a very successful business person. I won't name him on the recording because he is still there. He can watch my video. But what I appreciate, he was a class 6 student between 10 to 4, and before 10 and after 4, without any shame or guilt feeling, he would sit around Rani Pokhari corner. In those days, there were hotels and restaurants in those days, and he would sell socks and other clothes. So what do I learn? Start before others. If you want to succeed in business, start as early as possible. Move ahead. Before the birds, before the sun, I drank up of, okay, I will move quickly. Then where I will focus on, it's always hard to start. I like this line. I woke up at 2 this morning. It was not hard for me. I had gone to bed around 8. 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. I slept 6 hours. Woke up at 12 and started reading the story. What do I understand from this line? It's always so hard to get started. The beginning is difficult. In business also. The beginning is difficult. In everything, beginning is difficult. Even when you start a motorcycle in the first gear, it moves slowly. You have to reach third, fourth gear to speed up. The beginning is always difficult, but if you realize that it's difficult, you will give extra effort. Look, how am I reading? I'm making meaning of the lines. I'm applying these lines to business, right? Then second paragraph, move. He comes out of home. There were no cars, he writes. There were no cars, no people, no signs of life. I was all alone in the world to myself. Then here this place, setting, time, place and atmosphere. Now you note down, write setting and then draw 3 lines. Time, place, atmosphere. Next to place, write Oregon. Now you know the setting. The story unfolds at Oregon, right? Okay. Then paragraph 4. What does he mention? Okay. Then go to this last paragraph, 5. That's important, number 5. Because he talks about something in paragraph 5. Look here. That trail. He says the word that trail, and before, yes, here. Here. If we Oregonians were famous for anything, it was an old trail. We had to blaze to get here. Since then, things had been pretty tame. That trail, the teacher would talk about that trail. And what did he say? The cowards never started. The weak died along the way. That the word trail, it has very deeper meaning in this story. Literally, what is a trail? A pathway. In villages, in jungles, trekkers, those who trek, they make a trail. Sometimes you go hiking and you decide to explore an area where nobody has gone. So you don't have a path, you don't have a trail. You make a trail. You make a trail. You are the first traveler in that area. You remove the weeds and trees and you make the trail. It's very difficult for you. Others can follow. Phil Knight made a trail. What kind of trail? He brought a shoe industry in America, Nike. He created a very famous shoe brand, established a brand, Nike. And it was like blazing the first trail. You have to burn the burn the grass to create a trail. You have to clear. It's very slow, very difficult. So the word trail is very symbolic. It stands for the life trail that you spend years doing something to create your success. Are you getting my point? I don't know, you look so serious, right? Looking at your face, I feel like you are not interested in my explanation. I don't know. I don't know. As I look at your faces, they are so, serious. Many faces seem to be not so fresh. I look at your faces, I feel like you're feeling sleepy. For example, this guy seems feeling sleepy. I don't know. Let me talk to him. Did he have a nice sleep last night? He had. Looking at you, feel like you're tired. So it's all right. I'm sorry. I may have mistaken. Okay. Trail, right? So we were talking about theme. Come back to the point. So we were saying that it explores particular experience and their significance. So he shares his experience of running that trail. He has come home after 7 years, and next morning he sets out for running. And the word running is very important because he is an athlete. Phil Knight is an athlete. He is a player. What game does he like? He likes running. Where does he run? He runs at the track in this stadium. But here he is running in the trail. The word run. Now, the word run is important because to run, you need comfortable shoes. To run, you need comfortable shoes. So the very idea of shoes comes from his life experience. Sometimes you have a problem and you come with a solution and you develop that solution into a business model. Okay. Now, theme revolves around a central theme or idea. Okay, I said the theme is about success, right? There is a word, two-word phrase that begins with C. There are two words. This phrase is repeated 20, 30 times, I guess, throughout the story, or at least a dozen times. What is that word? Which university did he attend? Stanford. And he says that at Stanford, during his college study, his teacher made him do some research. He had to write a research paper. He was an MBA student, right? And you are feeling sleepy, you are not fine, right? You are not physically fine to be in class. It's really a very serious thing, right? To find that college students early morning are not physically okay to be in class, right? Do you see me lazy in class? Do you feel like I'm tired? Do you see without energy early morning? Right? Okay. I expect you to have shining faces, bright faces, curious faces, who are absorbed in learning and who have gone through the chapter, who are interested. Okay, leave that. I'm sorry. So, what is the word I said? He talks about a crazy idea. He talks about a crazy idea. There are two crazy ideas actually. One crazy idea is that since his early life, he has the desire to go around the world. He plans to go around the world. He says, I will go around the world. And he really goes around the world. He travels more than 20, 30 countries. He travels almost all continents. He travels almost all continents. Every continent. Major cities of the world. He also came to Kathmandu. He went to Choks. He used the word Chok. He went to Himalayas. But the other crazy idea is, when at Stanford, he was writing a research paper, he came up with a crazy idea, business idea, entrepreneurship idea. What was that idea? In his term paper he wrote, he would establish a shoe company. In his term paper he wrote, he would establish a shoe company. And he wrote that I would go to Japan. I would go to the head office of Onitsuka Shoe Company, which makes Tiger brand shoe and other brands. And I would meet this board of directors of Onitsuka Shoe Company. And I will import these shoes to America and sell them. That's my business idea. He wrote this term paper at Stanford University in his research paper. And when he came home after 7 years in 1962, while he was running this morning, as you can see in the story, let me show where he has this crazy idea. Let me show for the first time where he mentions the word crazy idea. So he says, 7 long years away, right? He left home in 1955. I'm not happy, in this class today, because my plan when I left home was to engage you in class. I had imagined that you would come without reading. I had already imagined, because for years I have experience of you people. And you know what I had thought? I know they would come without reading, so I would not teach the class. I would tell them to read in the class. That was my original plan. But then I felt like I should teach. The way I am teaching is a very bad way of teaching. This is teacher-centered, lecture method. I am explaining everything. You are listening. Why this is happening? Because you didn't cooperate. How you didn't cooperate? By not going through the chapter. Look, I asked you a couple of questions, 6, 7 questions, nobody answered. Nobody's asking me questions because you haven't gone through this story. Right? And this is not good. This is not good. Okay. So, look here. I want to show you where he, for the first time, he mentions that idea of crazy idea. Here he talks about momentous morning. Let me focus on this word, momentous morning. All right. Where is that? Here. That foggy morning, that momentous morning in 1962. The foggy morning is very symbolic. In literature, there is a technique called foreshadowing. 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 What is foreshadowing in literature? Writers give the readers a hint about what is going to happen in this story. They don't tell directly. You have indications, you have hints, and you can guess, oh, this may happen. For example, this morning, what does morning symbolize? Morning symbolizes beginning. Morning symbolizes beginning. This is the beginning of the novel. And what is he telling? He is telling the beginning of his life. He is describing the beginning of his life. He is describing the beginning of his business story. Now that morning is what? Foggy. In a foggy morning, you can't see at distance. Right now, he can't see his distant future, but he's guessing. He does not know what will happen next year, 2 years later. Look, then come below, and I want to show you the first time where he mentions the word crazy idea. Look here. He talks about physical awakening. What is awakening? Literally, awaken is I'm sleeping, I woke up. I woke up at 2 last night, physically. But a deeper level, awakening is the moment when you realize the purpose of your life. The moment when you realize the mistakes you have made and you say, no, I shouldn't repeat them. Awakening is the moment when you are very clear where you should head. Awakening is the moment when you know, now I should go this way. That is awakening. That is awakening. Deeper level of meaning. And this awakening is more mental, less physical, mental. In your mind, you think, oh, my life will be like this, should be like this, I'll go here, I'll do this is my purpose, these are my goals, I'll achieve them this way. Right? So he talks about physical awakening, right? Come below. Look what he says. Look his line. He says that I earned masters from a top business school. And look, a product of Stanford established a brand that runs even today, Nike. Right? Then, yes, he says he wanted to experience the life. And I don't know how you take it. He says that I had not experienced life. For example, I had not smoked. I smoked my first cigarette when I was in grade 2. How did I smoke? I was in primary school. I had to walk from my home to school. It took me 10-minute time. And at the gate of the school, there was a wooden shop. And that shop sold pan and all that, gutka, etc., and cigarette also. Every day, as I got to the school door, gate, I will see tall people. I was a small child. Tall people smoking. So I felt like it's something great to do because all uncles do it. I never seen aunties smoking. I've seen uncles smoking. So I thought, what is this? This is a good thing, must be a good thing because old people are doing it. So one day I remember, I took 5 paisa and I said to the shopkeeper, give me a cigarette in Hindi. I don't know why he gave me a cigarette. It was Camel brand or Panama brand, I forgot. The year was 1972 or 74, I forgot. I was 5 or 6 years old. I still clearly remember. I do not remember if I smoked, but I remember buying the cigarette. The second time I smoked multiple sticks continuously is when I was in class 9. I had bought 5-6 sticks, came home, locked the door, opened the window, lit the cigarette, and I would puff in and smoke from the window so that my parents don't know it. Second time. So he says, I wanted to experience life. I hadn't tried drug. I never took drug. No, never. Why should I? No, that's not a good idea, right? Then, broken a rule. I didn't break rule knowingly, no. We were scared, right, of breaking rule. Breaking the law. And 1960s, if you see world history, were remarkable for world uprising. There were, in 1969, there were students' uprisings around the world. So 60s were very turbulent time. Lots of disturbances happened. And then the age of rebellion, right? And then, okay, go down and let's find out that line where he mentions the crazy idea for the first time. Before we reach the crazy idea, here are some important lines to focus on. He says time is short, right? And then he says that I wanted to make my life meaningful. I wanted to make my life purposeful. I wanted to make my time creative. I wanted to make my time important. I wanted to make my time different. How old is he? 24. But when he's writing these lines, can someone tell me how old was he? I'll give you a prize if my pocket has any money. I don't know. Often these days my purse is empty. Lot of money. Not a lot of money. About 500 rupees. So here is a prize. Here is a prize for you. In my hand, I have a rupee. And here is a question for you. How old was this narrator or author when he was writing these lines?
60.
If you have read, you would get benefit. Yes, how old?
60.
60. How old? 70. Huh? 55? Any guesses? Life does not succeed by making wild guesses. You have to read this story. Okay, no money for you. Here goes the money. At one point he says, I am reflecting on these things after 50 years. That means he is 74 when he is writing. Which year is he writing? Probably 62 plus 50, 2012. 2012. He is writing these lines in the year 2012 when his age is 74. At 74, he is recalling when he was 24. At 74, that's why we call it memoir. What is memoir? You focus on a particular time in your life. At 74, he is remembering his life at 24. And look, morning shows the day. Look, at 24, he has this thing. He has this resolution for himself. What resolution? My time will be meaningful, purposeful, creative, important, different, and I wanted to leave a mark on the world. Look, this is how people become great people. At 24, he has this promise. I will leave a mark in the world. How many of you are wearing Nike shoes in this class today? If anybody? Is anybody wearing Nike shoes? Just, okay. So every time you wear a Nike brand, you are with him, right? Okay. I wanted to win. Look, I did not want to lose. Move ahead and see some other important lines. He says, I wanted to make my life a play. Now, for a player, whether you are a football player and you get a penalty shoot, you kick the football, a microsecond is important. Either you hit or you miss. If you hit, you gain a goal. If you miss a goal. You lose the trophy. You lose the World Cup. For players, at one point he says, for players, there is a microsecond in the game, a moment, that decides whether you win or you lose. Can somebody tell when did he have that microsecond? Anyone? In the beginning he says, for every player, there is a moment, a second, even millisecond, 1,000 part of second, that decides whether the player is going to win the game or lose the game. And at one point, toward the end of the story, he shows that moment in his life. Can somebody tell? Can somebody tell? He is in the Onitsuka company. He is in the conference room. And the Japanese people seat him at the front like CEO. They give a big chair with lots of honor. They sit over there. And before he speaks, one of them asks him a question. Mr. Knight, what is your company name? And when he gets this question, he had no company. And if he had said, I have no company, he would fail. His business would fail. What does he do? Within a microsecond, he says, my company name is the Blue Ribbon Shoe Company. He did not have any company. But he quickly says, my company name is Blue Ribbon Shoe Company. Now tell me, where does he get that idea of blue ribbon? Where does he get that idea of blue ribbon? पढ्रा पो थाहा हुन्छ नपढिकन मेरो क्लासमा बसेपछि यस्तै हुन्छ Sorry for this Nepali, I'm really angry. He got this idea of blue ribbon when he came home after 7 years. He was sleeping in his bed and look this line. I'll show you that line. I can't locate right now. He's sleeping and he is staring on the ceiling at night. He is looking on his high school textbooks. He is looking on the trophies he got in his school. And there is a blue ribbon trophy that he had won. In his bedroom. Where was his bedroom? His bedroom was in the servant's house. Why in the servant's house? Because after high school he was expected to be on his own and his parents had given him a servant's room. You stay there. You are not supposed to be in your parents' house after you pass high school. You are supposed to earn your own money after that. You are supposed to pay your own rent after that high school. You are supposed to be on your own after high school. So he was in the servant's room. And in the servant's room, that was his bedroom, there was a trophy with blue ribbon. He had won the trophy. From that trophy, he thought, I won the trophy. So he says, blue ribbon. And then they have a discussion. He says that America has a prospect of $1 billion if you do. And he comes out, makes a call to his father, and he says, Daddy, could you please send me $50? I want to order first shoes. And he orders $50 shoes from Onitsuka. Then he leaves Japan, and then he goes around the world. He visits almost every famous town from east to west, and finally comes home. And his parents are eager to ask him the story, the global story around the world, and pitching the idea. His father wants to listen. How did you pitch the idea of your shoes in Japan? Then he says, Daddy, I will tell the story, but please, do you know if the order has arrived? And the story, that chapter ends there. All right? So I was saying, it has lots of themes. We have 5 minutes time. Okay. Take a pen and copy. For 5 minutes continuously, very fast, non-stop. Remember everything I said in this class from beginning and write. You will not stop till the needle reaches 12. You will not stop. You will write continuously, non-stop. What you will write? You will recall whatever I told in this class and write. You will recall whatever I told in this class and write. Write as fast as possible. Write as fast as possible.